And we're continuing on Hilchot Tefillin, starting Siman Mem Gimal. And this is actually something that we just learned in Masechet Brachot in Amud Yomi. Maran writes, Asur likanes lebet hakiseh kavua la'ashtin b'tefillin sheberosho. It's asur to enter a bet hakiseh kavua. Now we know what bet hakiseh kavua means because of the Gemara, that a place that's set as a bathroom is asur for a person to enter that place with tefillin when he's wearing them on him, because maybe a person is going to come, even if the tefillin is covered and so on, maybe you're going to come to use the bathroom for tzo'ah, for bowel movements, and that is asur. If you're holding that tefillin bag in your hand, then you could actually enter the bathroom for lashtin, to use it for ketanim, for number one. That would be mutar, says the Shulchan Aruch. And the Rama adds, v'hainu davka, it's not just that you're going to urinate, but hainu davka keshemashtin meyushab. That's talking about the case that a person is using the bathroom for urinating in a way that it's not going to splash all over him, that now he needs to use his hands to clean his garments and his shoes, because aval mashtin meumad pshita dasur, standing in a way that it will splash on him, it will be asur, says the Rama. That's of course asur, even if you're not in a bet hakiseh, even if you're not in a bathroom, just around and about, and a person is using some corner of some road or in a forest somewhere to urinate, that will be also asur with having tefillin in your hands, because a person may come to clean his clothing afterwards and touch the dirtiness of urine, and that is of course disrespectful for the tefillin. Therefore, that would not, of course, be mutar. But in any situation that you don't have splashes, that will be mutar. For instance, if a person is standing in a higher place and the urine is going down in a lower level of the ground, which is not going to splash back, or it's in afar tichoach, in a very soft ground that it gets absorbed right away, any of those cases that you could come up with that you don't have a splashback, that would be mutar. Again, basically, the urinating itself is not asur with having tefillin in your hand. The problem is if you're going to need to clean yourself afterwards, and that becomes an issue. Now, the backdrop of this is, the Gemara says, a person is not allowed to have splashes of urine on his shoes when walking out of the bathroom, because in urology, you have people who cannot have children. We call them krut shofcha. It could be one of several different cases, both people who are born like that or people who have been damaged in the reproductive system, that actually their urine does not go with the flow, but it's kind of like drips down. And that is a question that people who would see it, an onlooker that sees his shoes like that, full of urine, they'll say, oh, must be that he is krut shofcha, must be that he has a situation with his reproductive system, and that means that his kids are not his. That's what the Gemara says. Hence, the halakha that you have to always have clean shoes. If for whatever reason things splash back on a person's shoes, you have to clean them before you walk out. And because of that, when you have to fill in your hands, of course you cannot do it. And hence this halakha that we have here. In a place that's not bet hakiseh kavua, if you're not entering a bathroom, but you're standing in some place in a forest and urinating, that even if you have tefillin on your head, literally on your head, the tefillin is on you, it's mutar to urinate. But then in that case, if you're holding him, the tefillin is off of your head and you're holding it in your hands, then it would be asur, because as we mentioned before, you may need your hands to clean up, and that becomes disrespectful for the tefillin to have them on you. Even if you're holding them not directly in your hand, but it's wrapped in a garment, and you're holding the garment or your clothing in your hands, still will be asur, because you have to clean off the splashes on your shoes, and therefore it would be disrespectful to tefillin. The way you have to do it in that case is you leave them arba amot away, or you give them to your friend. But the Rambam learns the Gemara entirely differently. So Rambam's shita is that you cannot even urinate, even if you're not in the bathroom, having tefillin on you. The very fact that you have tefillin on is considered a disrespect when you're urinating with tefillin on your hand. So against the other Rishonim and the simple understanding of the Gemara, which would indicate, as we have just learned this in the Gemara, which would indicate that in a bet hakiseh arai, in a temporary bathroom, which basically means it's not a bathroom that we call bathroom nowadays. What we call bathroom nowadays is a bet hakiseh kavua, because it's designated place for relieving oneself. Bet hakiseh arai means this place has never been a bathroom. It's a corner of a road, it's somewhere in the next to a tree in the forest, and you for the first time are using it as bathroom. So that becomes a bet hakiseh arai. So according to simple understanding of the Gemara, you could use urinating in a corner somewhere with having tefillin on your head. But Rambam understands that that's asur. Says the Shulchan Aruch. Ben bet hakiseh kavua, ben bet hakiseh arai. It doesn't make a difference if it's a bet hakiseh kavua, it's a designated bathroom, or a corner somewhere that you're using for bathroom. That does not make a difference. Veyesh lachosh lidvarav, and says Maran, you should be mahmir for Rambam. So in other words, even though that we have many Rishonim, perhaps the majority of Rishonim, and the simple understanding of the Gemara that bet hakiseh arai, a temporary bathroom, would be mutar even if you're wearing your tefillin, Rambam says don't do it, and that's what Shulchan Aruch concurs with, that you should be choshesh for the shita of Rambam. Now, Mishna Berurah writes in Ot Aleph, lehashtin, Magen Avraham besif katan tet katav the mashkatav amchaber lehashtin lirbuta lakat. The Magen Avraham understands that when Maran tells you in Shulchan Aruch that you cannot urinate with having tefillin on in your hand, is coming to teach you an extra halacha. The afilu la'ashtin afal pi shehu chayav shel adam asur likanes. That even if you need it for urinating, which is more important than number two. Why? Because you can't hold it as easy, and it's also dangerous to hold it. In the Gemara says, therefore, you would have thought that this at least should be mutar, and Shulchan Aruch coming to teach us, no. Even urinating, which you would have thought is mutar because it's more important to relieve yourself of urine than excrement, still would be asur to enter when you have tefillin on your head in the hakiseh kavua. Beyado. By the way, it's important to note that even though that nowadays we look at this halakha and okay, Rabbi, I would never even think of going near the bathroom with my tefillin, right? So what's the point? First of all, you have to understand that when you go camping and so on and so forth, these things become very relevant. And next thing you know, nobody knows the halakha because no one has paid attention. We just kind of like live in a routine of life. When you go camping, everything is challenged, right? Oh, the whole Shabbat is challenged. Oh, the whole bet hakiseh is challenged. Mamash is kacha. A. B. Whether or not when you take a tefillin, imagine in the middle of the shul, you take off your tefillin, you go to the bathroom, you come back. Do you have to say a new bracha on tefillin? So he says yes, but really the truth is it depends on this halacha. If you could enter the bathroom without having to take off your tefillin, then when you take off your tefillin and you go and you come back, you put it on, you don't necessarily need to say bracha again. But because not considered hefsek. But if you're entering a place that having tefillin on in that place would be asur halachically, then when you go into that place and you come back out and you put on tefillin, you must say a new bracha, because that exercise of going to that place by itself is considered a hefsek. When you enter a zone that it's a tefillin-free zone, you cannot halachically have tefillin on, that is considered that halachically your bracha got cut off. Now the second time you're putting on tefillin, it's unrelated to the first time you put it on. So therefore you have to say a new bracha. Whereas if you put it on, if you take it off because you want to shmooze with somebody for a moment, and you're machmir not to say devarim petelim but tefillin, so you take it off and you put it back on, you don't need to say a new bracha necessarily. So this halacha, though be it not necessarily super relevant to our daily life, because none of us dares entering or getting close even to the bathroom without tefillin on, but it has an nafkamina, it has a halachic difference in this case of whether or not you have to say bracha and tefillin, a new bracha, after using the bathroom, again, which we are going to discuss B'ezrat Hashem very soon. So says the Mishna Berurah, Beyado. In other words, the Shulchan Aruch said you cannot enter the bathroom with tefillin on if you're entering a set bathroom, a betakise kavua. But im ochazam beyado mutar lahashtim. But if you're holding the tefillin in your hand, then you could urinate, says the Shulchan Aruch, right? Even in a betakise kavua, even in a set betakise. To which, of course, wrapped up, and whether it's in a bag or not is the Mishna Berurah. Says Mishna Berurah, beyado retzon lomar bebigdo. When he says beyado, it doesn't mean that you're dingling your tefillin like that. It means it's wrapped up and it's wrapped in a bag or in your clothing, that it's respectful. Ubeyad yemino keneged libo, and you have to hold it in your right hand in front of your heart, and that's when it's mutar to enter the bathroom with tefillin. Kemosh katuv b'seif as we're going to discuss it, of course, in the upcoming seifim. So don't get confused to think that Shulchan Aruch is indicating you could take your tefillin like this and go in the bathroom. It has to be wrapped and it has to be properly covered with your beged or with its cover when you take it in. Peshita da asur, and Maran, the Ramara, writes that if you are mashtin meumad, if a person is standing urinating, that would be asur unless it's afar tichach, unless it's a very soft ground. Says the Mishna Berurah, be'ochazan beyado shema yekaneach hanisosot. It's talking about the case that you're holding it in your hand because we are concerned you may come to clean off the nitzosot, the droplets of urine splashing on your shoes, as we mentioned from halacha, that it should be cleaned off, and therefore is asur. Additionally, vehu adin keshehem berosho asur, even if the tefillin is on your head, still would be asur. Why? Because the chalshin and shema yeshev ya'aseh b'hem srachav. We are concerned that a person may come to sit, forget about the fact that the tefillin is on his head, because you find yourself in the bathroom, you're going to do number one, and before you know it, you know what, once I'm here, I need to clean my body as well with excrement and bowel movement, and you may forget that you're even wearing tefillin, and then come to do srachav in tefillin, which of course would be asur. So therefore, we're not going to let you urinate with tefillin on, not because urinating by itself is a problem. It's not a problem. But going to do srachav gedolim, bowel movement would be problematic. And because you may come to do that once you're in the bathroom, we're not going to allow you to enter the bathroom to urinate even with the tefillin on. Says the Mishna Berurah, ואין חילוק, ומכל מקום יש חילוק קצת, ובקבע יש חשש מה יעשה רחב, צריך שיהיה בבגדו ובידו, כמו שכתבנו. So in other words, this that the Rama says, there is no difference. There is no difference, the Rama says, if you are in betakise arai, which is the leka nitzosot, בבית הכיסא ארעי נמי שרי, ואין חילוק בין קבע לארעי לעניין זה. There's no difference by urinating in בית הכיסא קבע or ארעי. On that, the Mishna Berurah writes, there is a little difference, because in בית הכיסא קבוע, in a set designated בית הכיסא, יש חשש שמא יעשה סרחיו. There is always the concern that you may come to use it for number two, for excrement, and that would become a problem. In that case, it has to be wrapped in a beged and held in your hands. But in a בית הכיסא ארעי, in a non-designated area for bathroom, you could literally hold it in your hand without any beged, without any cover, and urinate, and that would be mutar, says the Mishna Berurah. So that's, you learn a lot of details of halachot on that, and Be'ezrat Hashem, we will continue this in the days to come.